Hey, welcome back. Some months ago I purchased a Talaria Sting. I decided to also get the road legal kit from EMX shop on Amazon. It arrived a few days ago, well packaged from the United States. Inside the kit there's the controller and wiring loom, as well as a mudguard. Also the front and rear indicators and brake lights, plus an adapter for sensing the brake lever. A full set of instructions are contained on the video produced by EMX shop. Now this video is for the Sur-Ron.
Hey everybody, my name is Will, I'm with the EMX shop.
And as there are a few mechanical differences between the Sur-Ron and the Talaria Sting, I also looked up Sessions 73.
On the Talaria Sting. Now this kit was made for a Sur-Ron,
who has made a YouTube video specifically for the Talaria. By looking at both of these videos, I decided my approach would be to first install the hardware before the wiring connectors. But first I needed to clear a bit of space in the garage, get the battery out of the Talaria and just get it in a comfortable working position. It was a bit muddy around the tail light area, so I gave that a bit of a clean before I got started. The plan was to remove the existing tail light and build a couple of extension brackets to hold the EMX tail light bracket that comes with the kit. So the first thing you do is start rummaging through your spare parts to see if you've got something suitable that you can use as a set of brackets. I found that I hadn't, so I popped to the local Bunnings store and found exactly what I was looking for, with a couple of mending plates and also a set of nuts and bolts. So this is the rear light setup with the brackets attached, and I'm just going to attach that to the Talaria in addition to the existing light setup, so it hangs down below that existing light. So this is the completed unit. Also provided with the kit is a plastic mud flat designed for the Sur-Ron, which I found I could fit by adding it to the bracket. It's a bit of a flimsy affair though, so although I've installed it now, I think I'll remove it later because I don't think it's going to last long out there on the trails. I just used a pair of tin snips to cut the plastic. The controller unit is all self-contained, so I fitted that to the handlebars and then started to thread the wiring loom through the bike. To do this you need to remove the ignition switch and just tuck it out of the way so you can stuff the wiring loom down the hole and into the battery compartment. There is enough space in there to tuck everything away later, but initially I just had all the wires hanging out. That square cube is the relay switch. I also temporarily put the Allen key screws back in place so I didn't lose them. You need to access the horn, so I removed the cover plate and put the screws safely aside. There is one lead that needs to be connected to the horn. I wasn't sure which side of the horn, so I randomly picked one, and it turned out to be correct. I also decided to remove the front mudguard, just to give me some more access for threading cables. Now the first connection you need to make is the headlight power lead. So follow that headlight power cable back to the wiring cluster, and you'll find it in there tucked with several others wrapped up in a rubber boot. For ease of access, I decided to just slice into the rubber boot using a knife and then peeled it back so the headlight connector is sitting there, and you plug that into the large black and orange connector on the wiring loom. Now the rear tail light can be threaded through the bike. It will eventually be taped and cable tied to the rear mounting bracket, but initially I left it hanging there and then tried to get the green connector cable through the frame of the bike to the battery compartment. There was no easy access, so I decided to try and remove the side panel, but that didn't provide enough access, so I then decided to remove the seat of the bike to see if I could thread it through. Undoing the rear bolts on the seat, however, doesn't completely remove the seat, so I then decided to disassemble the top half of the frame. Then the whole seat assembly could be lifted up, giving me plenty of access to get the green connector cable through. The front indicator lights have a blue connector, and they're threaded through from the front and will eventually be secured to the front forks. Don't do this step initially though, as you want to be absolutely sure everything is working and that you've got them correctly set as left and right before you secure them to the forks. So you can plug the green rear light connector to the green wiring loom and the blue front indicator connector to the blue wiring loom, and this will complete the circuit. You should now be ready to do your first trial test. So I reinstalled the battery, turned on the circuit breaker and tried the connections. I just temporarily put the ignition switch in place and powered up the bike. That was a good sign. So I tried the left indicator, and luckily I had put the left indicator on the left-hand side of the bike, so I just left it hanging at this point. And the rear indicator is working fine as well, just temporarily sitting there. The horn works also. The old horn button no longer works. The front light works, and I also checked the right indicator, and this is working front and rear. Trying the front brake, however, there is no connection to the new rear brake light at this point, as there are two options for this. If you've modified the brakes from the original Talaria, you will need to use the magnetic sensor that's provided, and by attaching the magnet to the lever, the brake light will come on when you pull the front lever. I think this might be a bit fragile though, and for some of the riding I do, I don't think it would last long on the trails. Fortunately, I haven't modified my brakes, so I was able to use the other half of the adapter kit, which plugs into the orange connector at one end and plugs into the front brake wiring harness at the other end. This then uses the factory-fitted brake sensor. I decided at this stage it was okay to permanently mount the rear brake and indicator lights. The 3M tape alone is not sufficient to hold the light in place, so you need to use the cable ties as well. I then trimmed off the edges. It is necessary to trace the wire from the front brake lever back to the wiring harness, which is contained inside another rubber boot, which I also cut into to make access easier. This then connects to the same orange plug that the magnet sensor would have used. So now the rear brake is activated by the front brake lever. This is a much better solution. The installation job is nearly complete at this stage. It's now a matter of tidying up the wiring, reconnecting the battery, and having checked that you've got the front indicators on the correct forks, you can then remove the 3M tape and secure these in place using the cable ties. You only get one shot at this, so don't mix them up. It's now time for a final test to make sure all the indicators and lights are working and that the rear brake light is functioning correctly. As well as the running lights and left and right indicators. So in summary, the EMX Road Legal Kit is relatively easy to install. It functions as you would expect out of the box. Although it is described as road legal, I don't think this means you can then register that Talaria Sting in Australia as a roadworthy vehicle, as it will need to go through compliance testing. But because I only use public roads very briefly to get to private property, it's going to work out fine for me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and let's ride.